Welcome to the Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Smoke Transport Briefing for Wednesday, April 2nd. Currently, we still have prescribed fire activity ongoing across the Great Basin, as indicated by the purple circles, and a few new small wildfires that pop up, which is normal for the time of year. However, they have remained small for the most part. Looking at the precipitation over the last 7 to 14 days, you can see the observed precipitation on the left over the last 7 days. We have had precipitation move across the Great Basin with these winter systems that continue. The heaviest precipitation has been in the Sierra and parts of the higher elevation of central Idaho, and then scattered down into Wyoming and Utah. Some of the drier spots over the last week and over the last 2 weeks continue to be western, northwest Nevada, down into southern Nevada, and parts of southeast Utah and the Arizona Strip. And you can see on the right, the percent of normal for the last 14 days shows above normal precipitation in many areas of Utah, parts of eastern Nevada, up into Idaho and Wyoming, and parts of the Sierra. Looking at the new snowfall over the last 72 hours, you can see we currently have a storm system moving through. So we have new snow in the Sierra. We've had a few feet of new snow up in the higher elevations. And then moving further east across Idaho, Utah, northern Nevada, some areas, especially in the higher terrain, have seen over 6 to 8 inches of new snowfall. The snow depth is indicated on the right, and you can see from our percent of normal, our snowpack is still sitting near or above normal over the northern half of the Great Basin, and only really below normal over southern areas. Looking at our current evaporative demand drought index, really no significant drought changes here in the short term. We do have some of that drying showing up in southern areas of the Great Basin, but otherwise no significant changes. We do have longer term drought ongoing across southern areas of the Great Basin, but as you can see, nothing recently that has really made that intensify. Looking at our satellite loop from this morning, you can see that area of low pressure and large-scale trough over the west continues to track further east and south, pushing moisture across the Great Basin. Currently, we have snow showers and mixed with rain and snow showers, rain in the south, snow further north, over parts of southern Nevada, southern Utah, and even some light showers into western and northern Nevada, with a few spotty showers further north. However, you can see the ridge building off the west coast, and that will push in for the weekend going into next week, giving us warmer and drier conditions. So for today, you can see that trough. A lot of the deeper moisture is moving off to the east, but we will continue with scattered light showers over the eastern half of the Great Basin later today, after those showers in western and northern Nevada track further east. Otherwise, dispersion should be fairly good in most areas as this trough moves across. And you can see from our transport winds, no real strong winds, but enough winds to keep the dispersion a little bit higher, and the ventilation index and mixing heights will remain higher as well. Temperatures today will remain well below normal, with most valleys seeing 40s into the low 50s and upper 50s down in the far south. So definitely cool conditions continue with that trough moving through, and relative humidity remains on the higher side with the moisture in place. The only drier spots are eastern Utah, but again, temperatures are cooler and moisture will be moving in. As we move into Thursday, this trough continues to push south and east, but still influencing the area, so we will still see scattered light showers underneath this trough across many areas of the Great Basin, but again, remaining fairly light. And dispersion with this trough in place will remain higher, a little bit lower up north, a little bit further away from the influence, but for the most part, generally decent dispersion. Transport winds, again, nothing overly strong, but just enough wind to keep dispersion higher and higher mixing heights. Temperatures Thursday will climb a bit over western areas of the Great Basin, but still 40s and 50s, really mostly in the lower elevations. And then relative humidity, we will see some of that drier air move into parts of western and southwest Nevada, but otherwise still remaining generally above 20%. By Friday, this trough continues to push off to the east, and we are starting to see that ridge build into the west coast. So we will see much drier conditions, still with some northerly winds into western Nevada and parts of Idaho. So dispersion still remaining elevated again on Friday as this system moves through. The only showers will still remain over eastern areas of the Great Basin and mainly Utah, Wyoming, into Arizona. Winds will still be breezy as this ridge moves in. Between the ridge and the exiting low pressure, we will have some breezy northerly winds, but most of those gusts in the 20s. So again, nothing overly strong, but higher mixing heights. Friday, temperatures continue to rise, still below normal, but we will at least see most valley highs in the 50s and now reaching the upper 60s in the far south. Relative humidity will decrease as the ridge moves in, so we are seeing certainly more teens and some single-digit relative humidity over parts of western and southern Nevada. 3-day amounts of precipitation. Much of this will be occurring today in parts of southern Nevada and Utah, with just lighter scattered showers continuing into Thursday and in some areas Friday. But you can see at least some light precipitation across many areas of the Great Basin, with the exception of the western side, which is certainly drying out as that ridge builds in. By the weekend, we will see warmer and drier conditions under the ridge and still some moisture trapped near the Four Corners area for southeast Utah to at least have some clouds and maybe some very light precipitation. Dispersion remains good across much of Nevada and Utah, but as the ridge builds in, we will see deteriorating conditions up north. On Sunday, we will see that ridge pushed a little bit further to the east as a quick moving area of low pressure moves into the Pacific Northwest. This will clip our western and northern sides of the Great Basin, pushing some cloud cover in starting late on Sunday, but more so into Monday. And looking at Monday, you can see that moisture. We will see those clouds stream across the northern half of the Great Basin. There will be some embedded, very light showers mixed in, especially across Idaho and far northern Nevada, but don't really expect much in the way of significant precipitation. Otherwise, poor dispersion across parts of Nevada into Utah, with better conditions up into Idaho and Wyoming as the system tracks through. And then as we go into the middle of next week, that ridge will strengthen and rebuild across the Great Basin for a more significant period of warming and drier conditions. Along with this ridge comes lighter winds, and so poor dispersion is expected much of mid to later next week across Nevada and Utah especially. Precipitation taking us from Saturday through Sunday night, again, shows that drier period over the weekend. Some of these showers will be beginning mainly late Sunday night is when we expect any precipitation to move back into Idaho after this period this week. And then going into early next week is when the system will track across. So again, those lighter showers, mainly for Monday, Tuesday, across Idaho and dipping down into northern Nevada as well as Wyoming. But otherwise drier conditions for the southern half of the Great Basin. 7-day total precipitation takes into all of these storms, so you can see some of the drier spots still being the western portion of Nevada. The 8 to 14-day outlook, taking us from April 9th through the 15th, shows well above normal temperatures and drier conditions. Again, the stronger ridge really will build in mid to late next week. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back on Friday for the latest updates.